So the White House goes on defense over all of this. Kansas Secretary of State Kris Kobach joins us right now, says this is not a Muslim ban. It has been skewed that way, as you know, sir, and I nowhere in the writing of it or in the presentation of it do I see that, but a number of people leap at the point to say it is. It's just not said that way. It's coded that way. What do you say?
I think the claim that this is a Muslim ban is completely idiotic and illogical, because these 7 countries, it's based on whether your passport is from one of those countries. You might be Jewish, you might be a Christian, you might be an atheist, but if you carry a passport from those countries, you're going to be exposed to this bar as well. Furthermore, there are 40 other countries in the world that are majority Muslim countries, and we're not barring any of them from coming in. So the notion that this is targeted at religion is simply false. But you know, that's what you see sometimes from the left. They want to make something what it is not, and then they're trying to fuel the flames of these protests, which are, you know, simply ridiculous.
Do you think, though, that the president could have vetted this a little better among just Republicans? When John McCain and Lindsey Graham say they're caught off guard, no fans of the president, but that it might have been handled differently?
Here's the problem. So if you start circulating, proposals for how this national security measure would be in place, and you start circulating them on Capitol Hill, word's going to leak out.
Right.
And what you don't want to do is give a warning ahead of time to a terrorist who happens to be carrying a visa from Somalia that, hey, they're going to impose this bar at some point. So they had to do it in an abrupt fashion in order to stop terrorists from abusing it. And, you know, these 7 countries are the hotbeds of terrorism agreed to by the Obama administration as well as by the Trump administration. And so it makes perfect sense to protect American citizens from individuals carrying those passports. And remember, this is a 90-day bar, and it says, look, we're going to impose special scrutiny here, and we should. And in the first 24 hours, I think it was 109 individuals who were stopped at American airports coming in, out of 325,000 entries into the United States. So the notion that this is stopping massive numbers of people is also false.
You know, it's all about perception, to your point, how the media covers it, even more to the point. But let's talk about the countries that were cited here, and you're quite right to point out this list of 7 dangerous ones that Barack Obama came up with in his administration, and a number of Democrats at the time agreed. I believe about a third of some 90 who looked at these 7 as being worrisome. Yet of the 180 or so terrorist incidents we've had in this country, Secretary, only 11 have involved individuals from these specific 7 countries. So then people come out and say, see, you're even catching the wrong people with the wrong net. What do you say?
A couple of things. One is, you're absolutely right. The sources of terrorism change with time. So, for example, the 9/11 hijackers, you had a bunch of Saudis and Egyptians in that cohort. Well, things have changed, and now ISIS seems to be the place, the nexus, the areas ISIS controls are where they're both sucking in, recruiting terrorists, and then sending them out. So, you know, this list of 7 may become a list of 10 6 months from now, and it might be different countries. So it has to change to reflect the realities on the ground. The other thing I would note is the other part of President Trump's executive order is the temporary freezing of our refugee program. That's so important because since the 1990s, 18 major terrorists used false refugee status to get into the United States, including the blind sheikh, Omar Abdel Rahman, including the 2 Boston Marathon bombers, the 2 Bowling Green, Kentucky bombers. All used fraudulent refugee claims, and it is so long overdue that we put a freeze on the refugee program and start imposing higher vetting procedures. You know, we're the most generous country on the planet when it comes to accepting refugees, but we've gone too far in not checking the background of people. So that is for all countries, and so many terrorists have used refugee status falsely to get into the United States.
All right, thank you, Secretary. Very good having you on.
Great to be here.
We should point out, I think as the Secretary pointed out, that again, this is not a Muslim ban. This is a ban on people from very dangerous countries that wish us ill. There is a distinct difference with that, and if it included all Muslim nations or majority Muslim nations, there'd be in excess of 40 countries on this list. Right now, 7 on this list. But again, the way it's portrayed is not oftentimes the way it is. That's not to justify the way it was handled, vetted, however you want to put it. But it's that handling and how it was vetted that now is weighing on the markets. And